Welcome back. The National Archives and Records Administration is executing a new multi-cloud strategy to make it easier for agencies that have already moved to the cloud to transfer documents to NARA. It's part of a giant digitization effort at the agency and all across government. Agencies have another year and a half to stop sending NARA paper records. Sheena Burrell is the Deputy Chief Information Officer at the National Archives and Records Administration. Sheena, welcome. Thanks for coming back on the program. What does this strategy look like? What are the elements of it, and how much of it have you borrowed from other organizations?
And we have actually borrowed some. We've talked to NASA as a place I used to work. And earlier this year, prior to COVID-19, we sent out an RFI to help tackle this same question, and just to get opinions from vendors and other people who have done something like this before. So currently, NARA utilizes the Amazon Web Service for infrastructure as a service and platform as a service. And with this in mind, we're considering a single award or a blanket purchase agreement for a multi-cloud service provider, or if not feasible, a single cloud service provider through which we can continue to obtain infrastructure as a service and platform as a service solution.
What's the advantage that you expect to gain from continuing in a multi-cloud platform, from continuing in a multi-cloud strategy?
Yeah, so other agencies that have to transfer their records to NARA are transferring them from any cloud hosting environment. And NARA needs to be able to be prepared to ensure an efficient transfer of records into its legal and logical custody, regardless of the agency's cloud service provider. So we want to be able to make it faster for them to transfer their records and as easy as possible.
You mentioned the RFI that you undertook earlier in the year. What did you learn from that? What feedback did you get back from industry about how to move forward?
Honestly, we did get a lot of feedback about different tools and solutions. We're taking it all into consideration, and something is going to come out later this year. It's not much that we can share right now since it's a still ongoing acquisition process.
You mentioned, though, that this is similar to work that you did at NASA, and I wonder what's changed between the time that agencies undertook this 2, 3, 4 years ago and agencies that might be looking at doing this today, if there are things that are available to them now that weren't before, or if there are policies and procedures that help them do it better or faster.
You know, so there are some different policies, and we're actually coming out with some policies. So on June 30th, I apologize, we released our digital preservation framework, which is open for public comment right now. But we're also making some changes in our regulations for digitizing permanent federal records and how to dispose of the original source where appropriate. But also, because of the technology, there are so many tools that are available. And also, because a lot of the agencies are moving to cloud first, we have to make sure that we're taking into consideration our modernization efforts and adapting so that we can make it easier to do those transfers.
Is there a sense of urgency on the part of NARA to kind of keep pace with other agencies, or is it just important that you're on that track at some point?
I think it's actually important for us to be on that track, but it's very important, as you have mentioned, NARA is going to stop accepting paper records from different agencies by the end of 2022. So we have to be able to have the infrastructure in place to accept all the digitization and all the electronic records. So we have to have the infrastructure and modernization in place to do that.
The collaboration effort that your agency undertakes on an ongoing basis is important. We reported this week about the collaboration with the Department of Veterans Affairs on the digitization of deck logs. What did that look like from the NARA perspective, Sheena?
This is really an exciting project for NARA. So the Blue Water Act was passed in 2019, and we had very little time from the summer of 2019 to January of 2020 to help VA get these paper records from us. These were paper records that we stored, and then we sent them to VA. We helped them with their digitization effort in terms of scanning, and then actually taking that data back into our digitization lab and ingesting that information. So this summer, we ingested about 13 terabytes of that data that was scanned from VA. And then later this fall, we plan to ingest another 45 plus or minus terabytes of data.
The volume's incredible. NextGov reported this week it was equivalent to about 29,000 boxes of paper records. Is it as simple as just scanning paper records, or is it more complex than that, Sheena?
It's actually a little more complex. So once you scan in the paper records, it doesn't automatically become machine readable. And we need to be able to go through and get that metadata so that they become searchable. So the contractors at VA are definitely looking at the scanned records and doing some of that metadata and making it searchable in a searchable format. That's part of the digitization.
This speaks, though, I think, to the point that I mentioned at the beginning and that you just talked about a moment ago, which is by the end of 2022, the government will be out of the business of exchanging these paper records for exactly those kinds of reasons, right?
Absolutely, yes.
What do you expect to see digitization-wise moving forward? What does the timeline look like for you, Sheena? We have about a minute left.
So the timeline right now is really one, getting some of our policies and procedures in place, having conversations with the different federal agencies, helping them with digitization efforts, and then moving forward with receiving only electronic records and as starting as early as 2023.
Sheena Burrell, thanks very much for joining me this morning. Appreciate your time today.
Thank you. Have a good one.